An example of a time when I didn't manage a conflict well was a coworker came to me and would always talk about other coworkers to me. She was always kind of complaining about the times they came in and just kind of complaining a lot to me about it. And instead of me just stopping her and just telling her, you know, it's very uncomfortable, I'd rather not listen to it, I just listened and didn't really say anything to her. And I wish I would have just told her up front, I don't like it, in a very polite way, instead of just giving in and listening to her complain about it.
I think it's particularly frustrating when everybody knows that there's a conflict, but yet nobody's talking about it, or everybody's kind of saying everything that's surrounding the conflict rather than the actual topic. And so my general approach to really handling conflict is not to shy away from it, but instead to acknowledge what's going on and try and get everybody's perspective and see if there's a way to find the common ground, so that maybe if there's an issue or a concern, that everybody's thoughts regarding it are really captured, so that everybody feels like they're contributing to the solution rather than feeling like they're separated or dismissed from resolution.
And think about what you have done to get the type of interactions you're receiving and what you can do to make that better. Or you know, if someone in the group is not responding the way that you want to, they're not kind of living up to your expectations, maybe that's something about how you are leading that you need to modify. I actually just told my son the other day that you know, he was complaining about somebody's interactions with him, and I said, in every interaction, if it doesn't go the way you want, you have to think about what your responsibility is in that, rather than focusing on what the other person could have done better. Think about what you did to make them behave the way they did.
It was a potential conflict that I think I headed off at the pass. Happened the other day. I had gotten an email that I thought originally the issue was relatively small, and then several people got copied in, and the tone of the email made me think that this was a bigger issue than I had originally thought. And at that point, rather than just respond back to the entire group and maybe flame the issue to make it bigger than it really was, I called one of the individuals and said, you know, from the response, I'm afraid that my communication came off as putting up barriers, and that's not what I want to do. So let me tell you, you know, what we can do and what the limitations are. And it turned out to be a really helpful conversation that actually opened doors to future collaborations that hadn't existed. So I was really glad that I didn't just do that reply all to an email communication that could have easily been misinterpreted.
An example of a time when I managed conflict well was an instance where another coworker and I seemed to not see eye to eye on a lot of things, and so she took me out in the hallway and we chatted about it, and we were very upfront with each other in a polite way, and it really was freeing to me because it allowed me to be open and honest while also listening to her. And I tried not to use words like you, things that were come across as intimidating, but rather just being open and honest and using open communication. And it was a nice conversation, and we ended it in a nice way.
While I don't get worked up a lot, I find my emotions getting excited when there's something that happens that I don't agree with or that affects me negatively. And realizing that I have that almost autonomic response inside that I get frustrated with helps me to temper that, so then I can move forward and address the real issues behind what made me feel that way in the first place.
I tend not to beat about around the bush. You know, if there's an issue, I tackle it head on. Don't really couch it in a lot of niceties. I just deal with the issue at hand.
I do not have a lot of conflict with individuals because I don't like conflict, but I'm regularly put in a position where people come to me because they're having conflict with someone else. And one of the biggest challenges I face is what my reaction is supposed to be to that conflict. Do I need to directly address the conflict with all of the parties that are involved, or do I need to help them take care of it themselves? Or should I be encouraging them to kind of let go things that really aren't important, which in the past sometimes has meant that the issue just gets buried and then reemerges even bigger. So most of the mistakes that I've made related to conflict have been in choosing the wrong approach out of those three, and that's a really big challenge for me.